Welcome to Radio Express World News, presented by Vibha Ramesh, Los Angeles, United States. Today's report starts with the grave situation the United States is in, with the second wave of the pandemic impartially ravaging almost all the states. And with Thanksgiving just around the corner, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention made a public plea on Thursday to not travel during the Thanksgiving holiday. The recommendation to cancel holiday get-togethers was imperative because of the surge in infections in the past week alone. While hospitalizations rose to over 79,000 as of Wednesday, the 7-day average of new cases across the country surpassed more than 162,000. Of the 50 states, only Hawaii is showing a relatively flat record of new infections. Moreover, new unemployment insurance claims climbed up last week with more than 743,000 workers filing claims for benefits. Meanwhile, Trump's refusal to concede the election is proving detrimental to President-elect Joe Biden, as he has been denied access to classified briefings and his transition team permission to fund. Researchers announced on Thursday that the vaccine that's being developed by AstraZeneca and University of Oxford produced a similar immune response in older people as it did on younger adults. To this effect, Oxford researcher Andrew Pollard said, "We're getting very good immune responses, even in the over 70s, which look very similar to those in younger adults." Moving on, the World Health Organization remarked that despite the virus having claimed as many as 1.3 million lives globally, the new restrictions imposed in Europe are showing positive signs of slowing down the spread of the virus. Supporting the claim are records that show a decline in new infections for the first time in months. According to statistics, new cases of COVID-19 dipped from 2 million per week to 1.8 million last week. In the words of Dr. Hans Kluge, as stated at a news conference, it is a small signal, but it is a signal nevertheless. Following the protests that ensued due to the arrest of Ugandan presidential candidate Bobi Wine and the violent action taken by the security forces, the death toll rose to 19 people in what is termed as the worst unrest in a decade. On Thursday, the protests got more intense, with youngsters burning tires and barricading streets in the capital. Silencing the crowd seemed a challenge by the police. Subsequently, help from the army was sought and soldiers spread out across the city with armored vehicles. "This is a warlike situation, so the army has to deploy," said a military spokesperson. He also added, "You can see what's going on. People are being stoned, people are being killed, vehicles are being vandalized, tires everywhere. These things are spontaneous on all streets, so police cannot handle such a situation." Moving on, Prime Ministers of India and Luxembourg signed 3 bilateral agreements primarily in the financial sector during the virtual summit held yesterday. The two countries also asserted the importance of finalizing an India-European Union free trade agreement soon. Meanwhile, the CEO of Serum Institute of India announced that a COVID vaccine will be available by February 2021 and will be priced at ₹1,000 for 2 doses. The vaccine will be first distributed for use to the elderly and healthcare workers. Following the assessment of bed utilization in hospitals in New Delhi, the Home Ministry has requested a similar survey be conducted in Uttar Pradesh. Meanwhile, Brexit talks have been suspended as Michael Barnier, the chief negotiator of the European Union, had to self-quarantine after a member of the bloc's negotiating team tested positive for coronavirus. The halt in negotiations will take a toll on the success of the trade and security talks as pressure is felt on the approaching deadline. The two sides had initially planned to arrive at an agreement next week, thereby giving them enough time to put a potential deal in writing on December 28th. Meanwhile, deadlock over a stimulus bill continues as leaders of the European Union made little progress in discussions. Over to Scotland, the government has enforced strict travel restrictions both within and outside the country. To this extent, officials have drafted regulations that make it illegal to enter or leave the country without a compelling reason. According to the regulation, no one from Scotland is allowed to travel to any of the common travel areas of England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and vice versa. However, the travel restrictions are accompanied by a long list of exemptions, diluting the purpose of the regulation itself. And failure to abide by the new regulation will attract a fine of a minimum of £60. That said, opposition parties are wary of such an order as it questions the competence of Scottish ministers to legislate in this manner. Moving on, An alarming spike in new cases of coronavirus has been recorded in Africa, which recently surpassed the 2 million mark. The World Health Organization's regional director for Africa has warned of an expected outbreak likely to be caused by travel during the holiday season. A global health professor pointed out three critical factors that drive the second surge, including overriding events, the upcoming vacation period, and complacency. He also said that pandemic fatigue is a reality and is quite widespread, and people are just not maintaining social distancing and wearing their masks to the same extent. Ending today's report, with the hope of minimizing the spread of the virus, Japan has been placed on maximum alert as the number of infections started to multiply rapidly. Subsequently, Prime Minister Suga urged the people to strictly adhere to wearing masks, especially when dining outside. Further, Tokyo is expected to go into the red zone as it recorded over 500 new cases over 2 consecutive days. With that, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Thank you for joining us. Please stay tuned for the next program on Radio Express. To receive Radio Express English news and English programs in your WhatsApp, please send a WhatsApp message, English programs, to 90727 95547, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel Radio Express. Thank you.